Hello everyone, doing another freelance teacher video podcast from I'm in a different area of the Bronx now, so kind of from a secret location. You see, you have to wear these kind of clothes to try to hide. You know me, I have unauthorized opinions, although that name's been taken. I can't use unauthorized anymore. Unpopular. I think things like that, I think words like that are actually pretty appropriate, especially seeing all the things that are going on now. I want to talk to you about thoughts, and one of the things I talk to young people about, and I'm really talking to them now because that's really why I get paid. I was mentioning to a friend yesterday that I have a blog, I have a YouTube channel, I have some presence on Facebook, and none of those am I ever fishing for likes or views or clicks. And it's a really nice place to be because I can say whatever I want. I can say my own thoughts. I can speak my own mind. And I see a lot of people not speaking their own mind or saying what their thoughts actually are. I see the Borg. I see repetition. I see people afraid to say things that are obvious. And when they can get you to say things, even worse, think things that are not yours, those statements and those thoughts, when they're not yours, in effect, they've won. And it's what Bob Marley was always singing about when he was talking about intellectual slavery. I don't think slavery is good. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say a radical opinion, and that slavery is bad. And intellectual slavery, especially in today's world where we live in an abundant, decadent society, intellectual slavery not only is worse, it's worse because it's unnecessary. There's no overseer or lord of the manor telling the slaves or the serfs or the indentured servants what they have to say and what they have to do, otherwise they won't eat. So why would you be an intellectual serf? Why would you be a member of the Borg? Why would you follow the herd to the point now that you do when it's completely unnecessary? It's actually weak and disgusting, and it's one of the unfortunate side effects with the tragedy in Minneapolis that happened days ago. Now, gosh, it's hard to even tell the days. Sometimes they move ultra fast and sometimes it's ultra slow. About a week plus ago. And you see people afraid to say that rioting in the street is bad, that burning things down and hurting people and some people getting killed. You see a binary brand of thinking, and it's typified, and the berserk apotheosis of this brand of one-line thinking of, if you criticize the rioters, looters, protesters, you are somehow against black people. That attitude, that ridiculous binary is being typified and exemplified by corporate America. I went to check my bank balance. You can insert your own punchline. And the message from Chase Bank was how they need to participate in the conversation and that they stand with black people. Now, I don't know about you, but I can't think of an organization less concerned with the black community than Chase Bank. Chase Bank is hand in glove with the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is really the head of the snake when it talks about taking down any community that has no power. The only community that gains from the Fed is the power of the people who are connected with the large banks at the top. I'm not talking about the tellers or the cleaning crew that shows up at my local Chase after it's closed. I'm talking about the top of the heap, top of the pyramid. To think that Chase and every other company, Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, every company, every email I've gotten in the last 5 days has been talking about solidarity with the black community. And okay, that's bad enough. You know, I'm gonna teach you now what the corporations are doing. The corporations know that and I'm gonna use shorthand here, that the left is gonna win the cultural battle. So they're just picking sides. They're just going on the side of, we know that the CNN, New York Times, CNBC, ABC, Vox, Huffington Post side of things, the corporate campus, Hollywood, we know they're going to win, so we're going to pretend to be on that team. That's all that is. You're kidding yourself if you think that Pepsi, Coke, Starbucks, Chase is doing those same messaging, putting out that same kind of message in Istanbul, Turkey, or in China. They're not doing any of that. So I can see why the disgusting, repellent, which ways the wind-blowing corporations are doing what they're doing. I get that. What I don't understand is the meaningless, binary, flat-out ignorant narrative that many people are buying into, whereas if you are critical of the people looting, protesting, burning, and killing, you somehow are against Black Lives Matter. Or you don't understand. You're against the plight of black people in America. And I see people, you see videos of this, they're all over the media, social media, anti-social media. You're not allowed to be critical of Macy's getting looted, or of small businesses on Fordham Road getting destroyed. How about the black retired police officer, David Dorn, who was killed? 38 years in law enforcement. He was moonlighting as a little bit of protection for one of the stores in his neighborhood. He got killed. He's dead. Black guy. People talk about lives mattering. His life doesn't matter. To the press, they're not putting that out there. It's on Zero Hedge. Where else are you seeing it? And you know why they're not putting it out there? For the same reason that they're not putting Duncan Lemp, or the other white dude who was on his knees crying in the hotel. And both of those people shot by police. Duncan was shot in his sleep, by the way. No-knock raid into his house, going to the basement, and they killed him in his sleep with the girlfriend there. That wasn't in the national news. And do you know why? You never get it. See, you don't get it because you follow, and you refuse to do anything but follow. Those stories don't divide. Think about it. If you look at numbers, and I know I'm using facts, I'm using logic, I'm using reason. I shouldn't do that. I'm dealing with heifers and farm animals. I get it, but I have to be myself. I can't do that other stuff that the disgusting people in America do. Twice as many white people are killed by cops as black people. Now, black people are disproportionately killed by police officers. Of the 1,000 killed every year, a disproportionately large number of black people are killed by cops, but twice the number of white folks killed by cops. Now, you'd think that if it happened at double the rate, you would hear some of these cases. And this is the way, are you ready? This is the way I talk to teenagers at Mount Vernon High School in room 227. So anybody gets their panties in a knot about the way I'm talking right now, you're more than welcome to come and at any time and talk to me, at me, in front of about 130 black teenagers. The reason why they don't do that is because that doesn't divide by race. What it does do is divide by power. So if Duncan Lemp, and I apologize, I can't remember the guy, there's video of him on his knees crying. He's in a basketball jersey. I think he's in a hotel hallway, and he gets gunned down in cold blood, dead. As a side note, you should wonder why you don't know these people's names and have never seen footage of this. But what you would do if you saw those stories often, is you'd start thinking, hey, wait a minute. The enforcement arm of government, the only people who have a monopoly on violence, the only people in most of the major cities in the United States who are the only people allowed to carry firearms, look at what they're doing. Maybe we should rethink this. And then what you have a problem if you're someone at the top of the pyramid. Now you have the rabble. And I'm talking about white people. You have white rabble. You have white people who have been very comfortable waving the American flag, pounding that Budweiser, working every day, hoisting Old Glory up there, putting their hand over their heart, bowing fealty to the establishment, right? They work like rented mules. They get taxed to death. They pound that Budweiser, and then they get put in a casket, right? They're good little serfs. All of a sudden, those people might start thinking, hold on a minute. I don't matter at all. No lives matter. Because those 548 people in D.C. and the 78 people up in Albany, or whatever the state government number is, that's it. Those are the ones dictating how I live, and they keep pushing me around. And they just killed that guy, Duncan Lemp. Wait a minute. And so, again, this is how we talk in room 227. If you had that, you'd have a regular person rebellion against the overlords. Therefore, you have not heard of any of this material. And I tell people all the time, the Black and Hispanic teenagers I work with at the high school, we talk like this all the time, every day, especially in this year's SUPA presentational speaking classes, period 3 and period 7, who have shown themselves to be intellectual supernovas, especially over the last 5 months. So you really pay when you just follow the crowd. It is really destructive. Listen to the crowd, hear them, but you don't have to think those thoughts. Here's a test. Ask someone if looting, burning, hurting, and killing someone for no reason is okay. And I say it's not. Now, the people who are unable to think for themselves are going to know you're referring to the rioting, looting, protesting for the George Floyd tragedy, and they're going to give you a speech because they're trying to justify the unjustifiable. So what you have is a very clear and easy way to see where people are in their heads. Here's another one. Remember the novel coronavirus? Remember that? Well, and I'm going to steal from Dave Smith on this one, but I'm old enough to remember 3 weeks ago when the people in Michigan were protesting that their livelihoods were being destroyed by a Democratic female Karen governor who was telling them they can't go to work and open up their stores. They can't even get a haircut. Those protesters were called by the corporate media racist, neo-Confederate, armed, Southern flag waving, racist jerks who didn't care about killing grandma, and they all of a sudden were upset that they just needed to get a haircut. Remember that? I do. Now, those same people, and by the way, remember, they were protesting and putting everyone in danger because they needed to exercise social distancing. Didn't they know that they were going to kill grandma? You're willing to kill grandma just so you can get a haircut? You mean the economy is worth more than human life? Remember that? I do. That was 3 weeks ago. Now, if you criticize protesters, you're seen as a racist. Wait a minute. Wasn't it just the opposite? Weren't the same people who were leading you by the nose with your thoughts last week now going in the opposite way? Why are you following them now? Aren't protests during the novel coronavirus COVID-19 era, aren't they dangerous? Where's the social distancing? I saw lots of people with no masks. I mean, we're really in clown world, fake America. And I did a post on that on the blog, and it got very highly trafficked. I'm proud of myself. I have to love myself for that. So I'll leave you with this, because it was the epitome of herd, the epitome of you being treated like an intellectually stunted farm animal. There was somewhere, I think it was Washington State, they had 1,000 signatories for this statement saying, don't confuse protests for Black Lives Matter and George Floyd with protests against the COVID. Those protests against the George Floyd and incident and structural institutional racism, white supremacy is a worse public health issue than the novel coronavirus. Therefore, the protests, right? You saw what I saw with the shoe boxes and the bricks, and the Antifa and the strategically placed bricks, all this kind of stuff. Those protests, according to these health officials, those are okay and not a problem. But don't confuse those protests with the anti-COVID-19 lockdown protests, because structural racism, white supremacy is worse than the novel coronavirus, and we stand with #BLM. Now, that's just stupid. And if you follow that and you just bend the knee and, yep, yeah, okay, I'm not going to be critical. I'm not going to think for myself in this. You're stupid too. And I have real contempt for you. And I apologize for words like that. Now, that kind of stuff I don't say at work, because that's not productive instruction. But I'm showing you the society that you're in, and the reason why it is the media that is the enemy of the people. It is the corporate media that is dividing and conquering everybody. And it's right in front of your face. Jaime Dimon, the CEO of Chase, he doesn't care about black people. What has he done? Right? Remember Kanye West, George Bush doesn't care about black people? Remember that? Some of you don't, because that was probably 15 years ago. But what if George W. Bush were to come out now and say, I'm going to march with black folks? Mitt Romney just did. Mitt Romney, he no skin in the game at all. It is a smart move for Mitt Romney, white Mormon, Republican, corporate, rapacious, capitalist, pig. It makes sense for him to march. Do you believe him? He's out there marching #BLM, got his fist in the air, got his mask on, everything. Do you believe him? You down with Mitt? Should he have won in 2012? Sometimes I wonder if anyone is thinking at all. So if George W. Bush were to say, well, #Black Lives Matter, the protests are just the silent voice of the downtrodden, would you buy it? I think some of you would. I really do. And you need to not. I'm telling you, I'm teaching you that this is how it goes. It's Bacon's rebellion all over again. How many times do I need to say that? The one time the rabble got together, white, black, American Indian, serfs, slaves, indentured servants, and they said, nope, can't have that. We're gonna divide people by race, and it's gonna work. And they read The Gallic Wars by Caesar. And it does work. and it's working now. How about we make it stop working? Why don't we work together and teach each other and not follow the corporate narrative that has been crafted for us by the people who run corporate media, and their motivation is simply to enrich themselves and keep themselves at the top of the pyramid and in power. People respond to incentives. Those are their incentives. You simply don't have to follow.